Hello and welcome. This is Computer Science with JSS2 Thought Term Week 4 lesson. I'm Kwasi Barida. Today we are going to be looking at the topic Internet 1. So by the end of this lesson you should be able to define the Internet and other related terms, to the Internet. And secondly, you should be able to identify the web browser, an email address and a web address. So let's get started. The Internet. The Internet can be defined as a global connection of computers sharing available resources and communicating effectively. This global network links millions of computers in universities, in government agencies, research institutes and business houses throughout the world. The Internet also connects mobile phones, GPS units, car alarms and many other electronic devices. These computers are linked through modems, telephones, satellites, etc. Messages sent and received on the Internet are in form of files. Okay, if you remember, we talked about the Internet when we were talking about ICT gadgets. So the Internet, like we said, is an interconnection of different computers, or interconnection of so many computers all around the world. So the purpose of this connection is for the sharing of resources, the sharing of information between these computers. So this now explains that the Internet is not just for the connection of computers alone. It also connects mobile phones, GPS units, car alarms and many other electronic devices, and this is done through modems, telephones, satellites and so on. So the messages that are sent and received over the Internet, they are in form of files. So next we are going to be looking at the related terms, other terms that are used alongside the Internet. When we'll talk about the Internet, these are terms that comes up normally. So the first we'll be looking at is the World Wide Web, WWW. WWW, or World Wide Web, is a collection of global information that can be read or written using computers. So it is just one of the services on the Internet. So that's one of the terms, World Wide Web. Then we'll have another one, the email, which is an acronym for electronic mail. This is a method of sending and receiving messages electronically. This is done through the Internet. So the electronic mail is a method of sending messages via the Internet, sending messages electronically. So that's another term used talking about the Internet. And next we have the intranet. The intranet is a network for sharing information, collaboration tools and other computing services within an organization, usually to the exclusion of outsiders. So the intranet is like a smaller internet. This one is designed for an organization, so with a limited number of computers or devices on that network. So this one now is done exclusively for the systems within the network. Outside systems cannot connect to this network. So that's the intranet. Then next we have the e-commerce. The e-commerce is also known as electronic commerce, or that's the acronym, electronic commerce. It is the buying and selling of products and services over the Internet. So the buying and selling of products or services over the Internet is known as e-commerce. Have another one, the e-library. The library is also known as electronic library or digital library. This is an online database of digital objects that can include texts, still images, audio, video, digital documents, or other media formats. So we have the conventional library. This way, I have books stored. So the e-library is a library of electronic materials as well. So it's a library of electronic materials like your electronic books, that's your books, your texts, still images, audio, videos, digital documents, or other media formats. So we have other common terms used along with the internet. We have next the hypertext markup language, HTML. This is the basic language that is used for web pages. It is a language that's used for web pages. The language uses tags to differentiate between different elements on the web page. So that's for the HTML. And next we have the hypertext transfer protocol, that's HTTP. This is the underlying protocol used by the World Wide Web, and this protocol defines how messages are formatted and transmitted and what actions web servers and web browsers should take in response to various commands. So that's the HTTP. That's usually on websites address. That's the first write-up. You have the HTTP. So that's what it is. Then we have another one, the web page. It's web page. A web page is a specific collection of information provided by a website and displayed to a user on a web browser. A website typically consists of web pages linked together in a coherent fashion. So a web page is like a single page in a website. So you can liken a website to let's say a textbook that has several pages, and each of the page is a web page. So that's another one. Then we'll have another one, the browser. What's the browser? A browser is a software program that allows users to view, have access, and navigate documents called web pages. So the web browser gives you access to the web pages on a website. So without a web browser, you can't browse the web pages on a website. So the web browser gives you access and enables you to view and navigate documents on a website. So next we have the web server. The web server is a software and hardware that uses HTTP and other protocol to respond to clients' requests made over the World Wide Web. The main job of a web server is to display website content through storing, processing, and delivering web pages to users. So the web server is like it's a hardware and a software that is used to store websites. It holds websites. So through the HTTP and other protocols, the users get information from these websites that are stored in the web server. So we still have some more terms used alongside the internet. Next we have is the website. The website is a collection of web pages and related contents that is identified by a common domain name and published on at least one web server. So remember, we talked about the web pages. So the website is a collection of several web pages. Remember, we liken the websites to a textbook that has several pages. So it's a textbook and each of the page is a web page. So that's for the websites. And we'll have the hosts. The host is a company that allows websites to be located on the web server. So we'll have another one, download. The term download, what does it mean? it means receiving a file from the web server to your computer. So when you hear the term download, it means that you're receiving a file that is stored in a server. A file that is stored in a server. That's like I said earlier, a website is stored in a particular computer. There's a computer that holds all of the documents, all of the files that you have on the website. So when you download any of those files from the website, you're actually downloading the file from the web server to your computer. So have another one, the upload. This is like the opposites of the download. In this case, now you're sending a file from your system to a web server. So that is the term upload. We'll have another one, the Internet Service Provider, ISP. This is a company that specializes in making internet services available to users. So the internet service providers, they are the ones that make internet services available for you to have access to the internet. They give you access to the internet. So it's abbreviated as ISP. That's Internet Service Providers. So next we're going to be next is the identification of web browser, email address, and web address. So let's look at the first, web browser. What is a web browser? Web browsers are special softwares designed to allow users have access to World Wide Web on the internet. Websites cannot be viewed without this software. Examples of web browsers include, you have the Internet Explorer, you have the Mozilla Firefox, you have the Opera, you have the Google Chrome, then you have the Netscape, and so on and so forth. So the web browsers, they are the ones that gives you access to the internet. Without the web browser, you can't have access to websites, you can't have access to web pages. So that's for the web browser. Then next, the email. How to identify the email? Okay, first we've talked about the email, that email is electronic mail. So the email operates like the conventional post office, but mails are provided and sent electronically. So for the case of email, the mails are sent electronically, not manually. Now that, okay, you get a mail like a message in or let's say a letter or whatever, you have it in an envelope, then it's mailed or it's sent to someone. Or in this case, it's done electronically, that's via the internet. The mail address identifies the user's mailbox on the internet. So the email address is like this is a unique address that identifies the user's mailbox on the internet. So it is made of 4 parts. It is made up of 4 parts, which are written in lowercase. So in writing an email address, you don't write any of the letters in uppercase. It's all in lowercase. So it goes like this. You have the username at hosts.com. So those are the 4 parts. The username is the first, the at is the second, the host is the fourth, and the com is the fourth. So let's look at them one after the other. First, the username. The username is a unique name to be used by the person who owns the email address. So people cannot have the same username. So the username is what you use to identify your own email address. So you can use anything there, but most importantly, 2 persons cannot have the same username. For example, if you've chosen a username, let's say you have it as your, or if you want to use a username, for example, want to make use of your name as a username, and if some other person has used it before, that one is no longer available. You have to use something else. So no 2 usernames are the same. So the username is a unique name that is used by a person who owns an email address. And the next is the @ we have it there. It's a symbol and it's read as @ so that's how it's written, like an A that is circled. Then you have the next, the host. So the host is a company or organization that maintains or owns the websites with the mail server. You have examples, the Yahoo, and you have the Google. So these are examples of email hosts. Then you have the last part, the site type. What type of sites do you have an email in? So this is a site. This is a site of, or this is a type of internet used by the hosts. This is the site of internet used by the host. For example, you have the .com. The .com is used for commercial websites. You have the .edu, that's .edu. It is used for education websites. You have the .org or .org. It is used for organizations, etc. That's and so on and so forth. So that's for the email. So next, okay, take notes. There are also country codes. There are also country codes that I have at the end of the email as well, but it's not always there. We have it in some cases. So these country codes are attached to some email address. This depends on the hosts. We have example .ng, that's for Nigeria, .uk for United Kingdom, we have .za for South Africa, etc. So example of an email, you have it there. So that's the email of La Paix Anglais High School. So you have it as lapaix_capstone@yahoo.com. So that's an example of an email. So lastly, a web address. How to identify a web address? A website can be compared to an office or a house address, or a house with an address. Just like every house or office has an address which is used to locate it, a website also has an address used to locate it on the internet. The website address allows you to locate the website you want to obtain information from. So if you want to get information from any websites, it's very important you have the address of that website. Without the address of that website, you can't get to the website. So it's just like a house or an office with an address. If you don't know the address of the office, or if you don't know the address of the house, you can't get to the house. So that's exactly how the web address is. A typical website address has 4 parts, just like the email, but this one it's different. So it goes like this: the HTTP, that is a hypertext transfer protocol, and you have the semicolon / www, that's the World Wide Web, and you have google.com. So the 4 parts: the HTTP, the www.google, the www, the Google, and the .com. So that those are the 4 parts. Then let's take them one after the other. First, you have the protocol name HTTP. These are the rules guiding the exchange of information on the internet. So the HTTP are the rules that guide the exchange of information on the internet. And next you have the site location, that's the www. This shows that the site is on the web. It tells you that the site you're about visiting is on the web, is on the internet. Then you have the web server host. You have the web server host. This is the name given to the owner of the web server or the organization maintaining the web server. So you have the last one, the site type. You have the site type. So this depends on the type of organization that owns or maintains the web server. So it's just like the email. You have the .com, you have the .org, we have the .net, we have the .edu. So and also for those that want the country code to be there as well, .ng for Nigeria, .uk for United Kingdom, .za for South Africa. So that's it. That's for the web address, and that is it for the internet one. So let's do a brief summary of what we've learned so far. So first we talked about the definition of internet and other related terms, and we talked about identifying web browser, email addresses, and web addresses. So that's it for today's class. Thank you very much for your time. Hope to see you again in our next class. Until then, God bless you richly. Bye bye.